Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to another week of the weekly Parsha. We're holding over here in PARSHAS EMOR in Sefer Vayikra, and I want to take what might be an unusual pasuk for us to base an entire Parsha on tonight, but the messages and the ideas that are in it are quite important. The pasuk tells us like this: "V'shor oisei v'espenoi loisishchatu b'yoyim echad." A shore, an ox, a sheep, that ox or that cow and that sheep, the animal itself, the espanoy and its child, you should not shech them both on the same day. Meaning a mother cow and her baby calf, or a mother sheep and the baby sheep, you should not shech them both together on the same day. On Tuesday, you can shech the mother, and on Wednesday, you can shech the child. Or on Tuesday, you can shech the child, and on Wednesday, you'll shech the mother. But you cannot shech them both on the same day. And the Torah doesn't say why. As in many of the mitzvahs that we have, the Torah doesn't tell you what is the issa, what is the prohibition. It just tells you, you're not allowed to do this. So, Baruch Hashem, we have a sefer called Sefer HaChinuch. The Sefer HaChinuch, very often, on all the mitzvahs that it brings, will explain to us a deeper meaning and a reason behind what is the problem with this mitzvah. Why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu say that a Jew, meaning a Jew, anybody, if they want to, they could shech whatever they want to do, they could take a gun and they could kill the cow. But a Jew is not allowed to shech a mother and its child on the same day. Why not? So he has two reasons, but in the second reason, he writes the following words. It's possible to say over the following pshat, the following explanation. The reason that the Torah says that you are not allowed to shech a mother cow and its baby on the same day is because the Torah wants to affix and drill into our nefesh, into our soul, midas hachemla, the midah of chemla, of mercy, of compassion. Ulaharchig midas achzorius, and to distance from ourselves the midah, the trait of achzorius, of cruelty. Shemida ra, which is obviously a very negative and a bad trait. Says the Sefer HaChinuch to begin with. There is a prohibition in the Torah that says that a Jew is not allowed to shech a mother and its child on the same day. What is the reason? The reason is because HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to make sure that we are not cruel people, we are merciful people. So somehow, if you would shecht a mother cow and its child, its calf, on the same day, that would make you cruel. But if you shecht them on different days, it doesn't make you cruel. Monday and Wednesday is fine. Monday and Monday, you're a cruel person. What is the pshat? Says the Sefer HaChinuch, Afa pi shehitir lanu hakel, mine bali chaim lemechiyasenu. Even though that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has allowed us to eat animals, goes into another question of the Sefer HaChinuch. We know that there's something called tsar bali chaim, which means you're not allowed to cause harm to an animal. Isn't killing an animal and devouring him, isn't that causing tsar? Isn't that causing pain to the animal? When you walk into the farm and you see the chicken, you say, you look great on my Shabbos table. And then you take him and you shecht him. Is that not causing tsar, pain to the animal? And the Sefer HaChinuch writes over there, it's not. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu allows you to use the animals for what is best for you. And therefore, if eating this chicken on your Shabbos table is going to be the best thing for you, then you are permitted to shech the animal. There's pain involved. What else can you do? There's pain that's involved in order for you, the human being, to get what you want and what you need. Because the world is created for us, not for the animals. Says the Sefer HaChinuch, HaKadosh Baruch Hu permitted us to eat animals for our sustenance. There's no problem. Steak and chicken and hot wings, everything, whatever you want, it's all part of the plan that HaKadosh Baruch Hu had. Tzivanu lebal naharag oisaves benoi biyachad. However, even though that HaKadosh Baruch Hu allows us to have meat and chicken and turkey and lamb and goat and all of these animals, we're allowed to eat them. Hashem gave them to us. The world belongs to us. He gave it to us that we should be able to enjoy ourselves and be sustained. Nevertheless, he commanded us that even when you're allowed to do something, you have to do it in a way that's not going to create and to desensitize you and make you insensitive to life. And therefore, you're not allowed to kill the mother and her child on the same day. In order to implant and instill in our hearts the midah, the trait of chemla, of compassion. Somehow the Sefer Chinuch understands that even though that you're allowed to shecht, and you're allowed to kill, and you're allowed to eat, and you can make a barbecue, and we know that when there's a Beis HaMikdash, korbanos are going to be a main thing. Peter is not going to be very happy when the Beis HaMikdash is rebuilt, because there will be animals being shechted day and night in the Beis HaMikdash. Blood will be streaming all over the Beis HaMikdash. So you're allowed to. However, why do you have to do such a thing where you kill the mother cow and the baby on the same exact day? Why does a child and a mother have to be killed on the same day? That, says the Torah, it doesn't feel right for a Jew to do such a thing. It doesn't feel compassionate. It doesn't feel like it's taking into consideration that you have a cow and its baby and you're cutting off that whole lineage right there in one day. Doesn't feel right, says the Sefer Chinuch. It's something that we would call achzarius. There's a cruelty about it. There's a ruthlessness about it. It's not sensitive to the cow, to the child. And therefore, since that the purpose of every single Jew in this world is to be a person of rachmanis, of compassion, to be somebody of kindness, of sensitivity. So to take the mother and the baby both in the same day, it's hot, right? That's what you wanted me to lower the air conditioning? Yes, you can.
Killing different things. If you kill the mother cow first, the baby will miss the mother. Kill the mother cow first, if you kill the baby first, the mother will miss the baby. So it seems to me that's more crucial.
Right, so Evan is asking a very good question over here, and that is, what is the cruelty that the Sefer Chinuch is speaking about? Because if the mother ends up getting killed on Monday, and we keep the son around until Tuesday or Wednesday, so that means that you have a son that's going to be living with trauma because his mother was killed 2 days before. So we're putting the calf now into trauma for the next 2 days because he lost his mother and now he's all by himself. So therefore, wouldn't it make more sense, put him out of his misery, kill them both on the same day, so the baby calf only has to know his mother was gone for a few minutes, and kill them together basically, and that way there's no cow trauma in the world. There might be bird flu and all these things, but cow trauma, that much you're not going to have. That's what you're asking? Okay, it's a very good question. I think from the question, they say that Shailas Chacham is Chatzi Tshuva. The question of a wise man has half the answer already. So I think that you see from the question and the way the Sefer Chinuch is saying it, is that we're not so concerned with the cow trauma that is going to take place with either the mother or the child. We're more concerned with, what does it mean that a Jew takes his hands and he shechs the throat of a mother and her son on the same day? What does it mean that a Jew could be so achzarius, so cruel, and cut off that lineage, that chain, that family, just like that? What does it mean for us? Meaning, even though that we find other places that we take the consideration of the animal's feelings into consideration, and we might not do certain things for them, but it seems to be from the Sefer Chinuch, that's not the discussion over here. The discussion is that for a Jew to be involved in shchita of a mother and her child all on the same day, that's overboard for the Jew themselves. That's desensitizing yourself to a mother and her son. And if you be desensitized to a mother and a son here by a cow or by a sheep or by a goat, perhaps you'll come to be desensitized when it comes to your dealings with human beings as well. If you could be that abrupt in the stoppage of life, of a family, of a yichus, of a lineage like that, with a cow, with a goat, with a sheep, then perhaps when it will come to the way that you're going to deal with human beings, you're going to end up being cruel with them as well. And therefore, says the Sefer HaChinuch, the Torah is telling us that you're not allowed to kill both in the same day. That's the Sefer HaChinuch. I want to share with you the words of the Eiznayim L'Torah, Rav Saratskin. And Rav Saratskin he starts out by quoting the Gemara in Chulin. And the Gemara in Chulin is medayik. It extrapolates from the pasuk the following. It says like this. It says in the pasuk that we just read, "V'shor oiseh," an ox or a cow and a seh and a sheep. The mother and the calf, you should not shech them both on the same day. The problem over here in the pasuk, in the grammar that it says is lo sishchatu, which means that they should not shech them on the same day. Who is the day that should not shech them? We're telling a Jew, you're a shoichet, you're hungry, you're making a barbecue for Lag BaOmer, so you have a cow and the calf standing there in front of you. You should not shech the mother and the calf on the same day. So we want to say that in Lashon HaKodesh, lo sishchat b'yom echad, don't shech them on the same day. But the Torah doesn't say that. The Torah says that the shor oisav espanoi, the mother and the child, lo sishchatu b'yom echad. You plural or they plural should not shech them on the same day. Where do we come up suddenly with more than one person over here who's involved in the shechita process? We're talking to one person. Suddenly we're saying they should not shech them on the same day. Who's he referring to? So there's Gemara in Chulin. And the Gemara says like this. Malami, listen to this. Fascinating halacha. She'im shachat Ruvain es ha'em. If Ruvain would come and shech the mother, and then comes along Shimon, same day, it's Monday. Reuven takes the mother cow and he shechs her. And then Shimon comes along and he takes the calf and he shechs the calf. The Hasrubai, and they warned Shimon, you're not allowed to shech the mother and her child on the same day. And they warned him, and he does it anyway. Like he's going to get malch, he's going to get lashes for doing such a thing. And that's what it means over here when it says in the pasuk, lo sishchatu, that they should not shech the animal, the mother and the child on the same day. So, okay, what's the big deal? The Torah says over here, you can't shech the mother and the cow on the same day. So we thought that it meant one person cannot do both. That's really cruel. Says the Gemara is telling us that means that what? Not only can I not shech a mother and its cow and its calf on the same day, I cannot even shech the mother and somebody else come along and shech the calf on the same exact day. Because that would be doing the same thing. You're killing a mother and her calf on the same day. So listen what he writes over here. This warning that the Torah is giving must be coming from HaKadosh Baruch Hu to tell us such a thing. It's wondrous in our eyes, such a thing, that two people cannot commit this crime. I would tell you the Pashup Pshat is, what is the big deal? That if one person ends up killing the mother and another person ends up killing the child, that's not what the Isser the Torah is saying. The Torah is saying that you should not do both. That makes you cruel. So what does it have to do with me if both of us are doing separate things? Says the Gemara. She'ish echa mi b'nei Yisrael asa davar amuter be'echlet. One person in Klal Yisrael is doing something that is completely permissible. Shechting, shech the para. You're allowed to shech the cow. V'al kol ha'eda hutel alav zeh yisrael lishchot b'oisa yom es benah. And now HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, even though that the first Jew did something that is completely permissible, He shechted the cow. There's no problem over there. Let him shecht the cow. All of Klal Yisrael now is ordered, and they are commanded. Nobody else amongst Klal Yisrael is allowed to kill the child of that cow. V'im shachat v'asur, and if you do, and you were warned not to, harihu like you're going to get malchus. You're going to get lashes. Umalem l'kol ish Yisrael l'shchitasa shel harishon. What does it matter? He asks that the first one ended up shechting. What is my shchita of the calf? What does it have to do with the shchita, the shechting of the first one? What does it matter? Again, the simple understanding in the Torah. Edwin, you're not hot? Very warm up here, yeah? That what is the simple understanding? What? The simple understanding of the Torah is that one person cannot do two acts of murdering, of killing of the animals on one day. And now the Gemara is telling us what it means is that not only can one person not shecht, one person's allowed to shecht, but once that he does, then no one else is allowed to shecht the child on that day. Says the Oznayim L'Torah the following idea. And he says, what does everybody else have to do connected to the shchita of the first one, that they're going to get in trouble if they do the wrong thing? He says, this coming to teach us that the Jewish people have a very deep and wondrous connection one with the other. Bein Reb Yisrael l'kol Yisrael lehepach. There's one Yid, his name is Reb Yisrael, and he's connected to all of the other Jewish people in the world. And there is all the other Jewish people, and they are connected to this one Reb Yisrael, this one Yid over here. Bein aprat el haklal ulehepach. It's the individual is connected to the majorities, to the masses, and the masses of Klal Yisrael are interconnected to the individual as well. Fine. And you will not find this by any other nation in the world. Says the Oznayim L'Torah. The Torah is teaching us over here a fascinating thing about Klal Yisrael. Klal Yisrael is all connected together as one. We're all a piece of each other, and we're all looking out for one another. And therefore, when one person does something, I'll let him say the words himself. Like he says like this, La'ama Torah, to the nation of Torah, that's us, Klal Yisrael. Shekibal atzmam es hatafki lios moireg legoyim. We accepted it upon ourselves by our Sinai, that we're going to be a light and a teaching unto the goyim, unto the nations of the world. Nishama achas, we all have one soul. Klalis, the kol Yisrael, it encompasses all of the Jewish people. Rak hagufim nifradim is only the bodies that are separate and that are different, but all of Klal Yisrael shares one precious and valuable soul. Says the Gemara, Mikan shebeis Yisrael arevim zelezeh b'nei Yisrael. Therefore, when the Jewish people stood at Har Sinai, we all became what's called arevim zeh bazeh, which means we became guarantors one for the other. Klapi shemaya, meaning we said, we proclaimed to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I will be in charge of every other Jew in Klal Yisrael to make sure that they're doing what is correct. And you took upon yourself that you will watch the rest of Klal Yisrael to make sure that they will follow through and they will keep the Torah. And Yankel over there, he accepted upon himself, he will make sure that the Jewish people will uphold and keep the Torah the way that they're supposed to. All of the Jewish people who share the same neshama, who have the same goal in life, and that is to serve Hashem. We promised HaKadosh Baruch Hu when we stood at Har Sinai that I will be a guarantor for you and for you and for you and for you. And you promised HaKadosh Baruch Hu that you will be a guarantor for him and for her and for you and for them and for all of Klal Yisrael. Says the Oznaim LaTorah, Mikana Netia, Ba'umas ha'olam legalgel chet hayochid sheb'Yisrael al klal kulo. That is why we find fascinating thing. Why is it that if one Jew does a chet, the goyim say it's all the Jews? Now we see this very well going on in the world today. There's one little tiny nation that's in the Eretz Israel. It's smaller than the size of the state of New Jersey. And there's a war that's going on over there. And they have killed, probably, I'm sure, because that always happens in war, they have killed some civilians, and because the Arabs themselves put the civilians out there. So sure. So suddenly now, every Jew in the entire world is responsible for the genocide of all of the Palestinians. How does it make any sense? What does a Yid in Los Angeles, California have to do with what's going on in Gaza? What is a Jew that's walking around Columbia campus who doesn't even know that he's Jewish? And now he can't go to class. What does he have to do with a bomb that exploded in a hospital and killed a few extra people? What does he have to do with it? So he says, fascinating. Since that really all of Klal Yisrael is Arevim Zebezeh, we are all guarantors for each other. We're all connected to each other. We promised Hashem in our Sinai, I got your back of every single Jew. So he says, don't be surprised that the way of the world is that when the Goyim see one Jew do something wrong, all the Jews are like that. One Jew with a nice big black yarmulke on his head is on the cover of the LA Times with the handcuffs on because he tried to buck the system with the FBI or the IRS. Suddenly, every Jew cheats on his taxes. Every Jew. Every Jew. Are you kidding me? You know how many I know that are so honest and so ehrlich, they would never take an extra penny that doesn't belong to them? But that's because we're all connected together as one. It's an inescapable reality that he says, even the Goyim, the nations of the world, they recognize such a thing. And therefore, and therefore, if one of the Jewish people shechs oisai, the mother cow, that shechita, since we're all connected, makes a roishim, an impression on the rest of the Jewish people that they are now part and parcel of the shechting of this mother, and therefore they must hold themselves back, so they should not become cruel. The shecht on the very same day, the child. Says there is not in the Torah, fascinating idea. Even though that in logic, this halacha doesn't make any sense. What does my killing of the child have to do with the cruelty that's going to be with what you did for the mother? You're allowed to kill the mother. I'm allowed to kill the child. Because we're all connected. And we're all one. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants every single year to take the responsibility on ourselves for every other Jew that is there. So much so that even the world, as they examine the Jewish people and they scrutinize us and they're picking on us and trying to find things wrong, if one Jew does it, it's all the Jewish people. One Jew does a chet, all of Klal Yisrael are sinners. One Jew did illegal actions, everybody's illegal. There's Jews in Eretz Yisrael fighting a war, and the world doesn't like what they're doing. That means even the Jew who's walking down the streets in Tarzana, California, is part and parcel of the things that the Goyim don't like about us. What I have to do, I told the idea of what to do. I told them what to pull the shots. There's plenty of Jews that are not in agreement at all right now what's going on over there. Too bad. You're a Jew. And once a Jew, you're always a Jew, and we are inner connected to each other. That is the power of Yiddishkeit. That is the power of Torah. That is the power that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has given to us. And I was thinking that perhaps this is a little bit of what we see during these weeks that we have in the Sfira Sa'omer, we know between the beginning of the Sfira and Lag Ba'omer at least, is the death of the Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva. The 24,000 students of Rabbi Akiva, they all died beperek echad in one full sweep. And there's a very penetrating question that I just heard the other night. There's a Reb Reuven Leichter who was here in town, and he asked the following question. I don't know why. It's one of those questions you wonder why you never thought about this yourself. 24,000 students died in the course of approximately 33 days. If you do the math, that means that there was something like 800, 900 deaths taking place every single day. So let's say day number one, 800 students in the yeshiva dropped dead. It's not like they were run over by a car, chas v'chalila. It's not like they got shot. It's not like they were out in battle. They got this terrible disease that's like diphtheria, and they dropped dead, 800 in one shot. There's levayas, there's funerals, in Eretz Yisrael, they have the loudspeaker that announces when there's going to be a levaya. You hear it going 800 times through the streets. There's mothers that are wailing, fathers that are wailing, sisters, brothers, everybody's wailing in the streets of Yerushalayim. For day number one, what were the other 24,000 or 23,200 students thinking at that time? It's so strange. 800 of our best friends in yeshiva, they died just like that. They got killed in such a strange way. That's so strange. The next day, 800 more, 900 more died. Another 900 levayas, another 900 hespedium, another 900 shiva houses, crying in the streets, wailing. They ran out of Kleenex in Eretz Yisrael. What were the rest of the students thinking at this time? It's so strange. Another 800 people died. It's so bizarre. Rabbi Isai, we know in our generation, if chas v'shalom, there's even one bizarre tragedy that takes place in a community anywhere in the world. A person ended up getting in a car accident, Rahman al-San, and they end up dying. We had such a thing a couple of years ago. A mother, a husband and a wife were in a car. They were on vacation. They got into a terrible, tragic car accident, and the wife died. The whole community could not come to grips with it. They made gatherings in the city. They had drushes coming in. They had people coming in to be mechasagas. And everybody started thinking, we better do tshuva. We better do tshuva. This is terrible. Such a precious person of our community. She's such a chashva person, such a wonderful mother, a wonderful wife. How could such a thing be? We better start doing tshuva. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what's he saying to Los Angeles community? Here you have 800 students dying in one fell swoop. The students of Rabbi Akiva that were alive say, this is not good. We better start doing tshuva. And let's say that they did say it. And the next day, another 800. And another 800, another 800. Says the Gemara, Kulam Mesu Beperek Echad. Every single one of the students in Rabbi Akiva's yeshiva died. Not one was alive. Not one survived. Maybe there would be, those 24,000, there's like 100 at least that got the message. Nobody got the message. Nobody understood. Nobody could figure out what is HaKadosh Baruch Hu doing the Klal Yisrael, that he's killing one after the other, after the other, after the other. Nobody figured it out. Doesn't make any sense. This is a question that should have been bothering us for years. No? And yes, this is a bothersome question. What were they thinking? So the Gemara says over there, the following teretz, the following answer. Do you know why all of the Talmidim Rabbi Akiva ended up dying in one fell swoop between Pesach and Atzeres and Sukkot and Shavuos in this time, this 33 days of the morning? Do you know why it was? And the Gemara answers very simply. They did not give the proper respect. Zeh lezeh. This one to that one. This one to that one. Says the Gemara, this is the classic case. Couple comes in for marriage counseling. And she's saying, oh, he doesn't know how to take care of me. He doesn't know how to treat me. And the husband says, she never gives me respect. And they're back and forth. She says, it's his fault. He's Shalom kavod zeh lezeh. They did not give, Reuven did not give honor to Shimon, and Shimon did not give honor to Reuven. And Yankel didn't give honor to Yisachar, and Yisachar didn't give honor to Dan. And Dan didn't give honor to Rachel, and Rachel didn't give to Rivka, and so on and so forth. Shaloi nagu, they did not nagu, they were not accustomed to giving the proper honor one to the other. Klal Yisrael is one. We're all the same. We have the same neshama. We're the same person. We're the same entity that comes. Klal Yisrael, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us a neshama. We stood by our sin and we received the Torah. We said, Kol Yisrael Arabim Zelazeh. Every single Jew is going to be a guarantor, one for the other. We have an obligation to each other. But if you can't honor each other in the proper way, and it's zeh lezeh, this one to that one, and this one to that one, and this one to that one, and nobody in the Beis Midrash or Rabbi Kiva understands, everybody in that Beis Midrash is lacking in giving the proper respect to every person they come in contact with. You know that I think we spoke about it a little bit on Shabbos. V'afta l'reacha kamecha, which was Rabbi Akiva's mantra. He lived, v'afta l'reacha kamecha, you have to love your fellow Jew the way that you love yourself. That means that in every drasha that Rabbi Akiva gave, he always enforced in his Talmidim, love your fellow Jew the way that you love yourself. If they would hear him humming a song, he was humming a song that was V'yafta l'recha kamecha, zeh klal gadol b'Torah. This is the main principle of the Torah. And his Talmidim are living with Rabbi Akiva for so many years and hearing so many drashas and seeing the way that he treats every single person with ava, with love. It's easy to love a fellow Jew that is like you. It's easy to embrace people that don't bother you. It's easy to be soivel, to have patience with somebody who's really not a hard person to deal with. That's all easy. And therefore, the kavod, the honor that you're going to give to each person in those situations, it should be a cinch, slam dunk over there. Of course you can do such a thing. Where does it get difficult? When the person themselves that you have to honor and respect and treat and be patient with is someone that is so different than you. Thinks differently, looks differently, talks differently, laughs differently, has different interests. When that person is the one that you have to give the proper kavod zeh lezeh, respect one to the other, that's where a person runs out of steam and is not able to do it. The Maharsha says on that Gemara, do you know where it was that they did not give each other the proper respect? They didn't give each other the proper respect when they were learning Torah with one another. When they were learning Torah with one another, anyone that has ever had a chavrusa, a study partner, you know how it works? You start learning a piece of Gemara, you start learning a pasuk in the Torah, you start learning a complicated idea, and right away your mind begins thinking the way that your mind thinks, and you say, this is the pshat, this is what it means over here. And then comes along your friend, your chavrusa, your partner over there, his mind works differently than yours, and no, that's not what it means. It means something else. And the next thing you know, you're fighting it out with each other. In the course of your fighting out with each other, are you fighting because you want to get to the emes la'amita, what does HaKadosh Baruch Hu really mean in his Torah? Or do you just want to be the one that is right? And when you want to be the one that is right, sky's the limit of how you're going to treat the other person that is sitting across the table, who knows the names that you will call them? Who knows the faces that you're going to make? Who knows the frustration that you're going to show? I was once sitting in the Beis Midrash in Ner Yisrael, and the Rosh Kollel is Rav Ezra Neuberger. Talmud Chacham par excellence, special person. There was a young man in the Kollel. If you want to know what the stench of gaiva smells like, the smell of arrogance, you just have to be around this person for about 2 seconds. You'll smell gaiva. He's such an arrogant person. And I say that with all humility. He was such an arrogant person. He walks over. I'm sitting, my table, second Seder used to be, I was like one table in front of Rav Ezra. He walks over to Rav Ezra Neuberger. And he walks over. He's okay. Rav Ezra is a Rav with a long beard. He's like the grandson or the great nephew of Rav Ruderman Zatzal. He's a Talmud Chacham par excellence. He's a Mayagitz. He gives advice to everybody. He saves people's lives. This guy walks over, as arrogant as can be. He says, Ezra. That's what he says. Ezra. He says, what do you say about this? And he puts a safer in front of him and he says, no, what do you say about this? And Rav Ezra Neuberger, in his absolute humility, he said, it's a good question. It's a good question. I'll have to think about that one. Okay, Ezra, okay. And he walks away as if like vindicated that he won the battle with Rav Ezra Neuberger. Says the Gemara, when the Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva, they were tzaddikim, they were tanoim. You know what that means to be a tana? The students of Rabbi Akiva, they were tanoim. That means they could write mishnayos, they could write braisais, they could make birds over their head explode when they were learning Torah. You think they weren't kind to each other? You think they didn't help people? You think they didn't do chesed? You think they didn't speak nicely and have patience? They did. In one place, when it came to learning. When it came to learning, and they were defending their pshat and defending what they wanted, in some way, they didn't give the proper respect one to the other. It's a two-way street in Klal Yisrael. Since that Kol Yisrael, Arevim Zelazeh, we are all the guarantors of one another. And like those 9 the Torah is saying, we're all interconnected with that same neshama that is there. Then if that's the case, so then we are obligated, each and every one of us, to give each other the proper respect that you deserve. And you're obligated to give me the respect that my Tzelem Elokim, that my neshama deserves. And if I treat you even a little bit wrong, if I'm a student of Rabbi Akiva, says Rabbi Akiva, says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's not going to work. Kulam mesu beperek echad. It's a pile ployim. Every single last one died. Nobody did tshuva. Nobody got the message. Nobody understood what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted. Nobody could make a yom tefillah. Look at this. Since the war began in Eretz Yisrael, you know how many hundreds, if not thousands, of gatherings of tefillah there have been throughout the world, davening in Klal Yisrael. They didn't make a yom tefillah. They didn't start saying Tillim and start crying, please Hashem, let's go learn Musaf figure out what Hashem wants. The answer is that sometimes it's so thin, so small that's there. You don't even realize. You don't even realize how you're talking to the person, how you're treating them. Your custom, your actions are not giving the proper covet one to the other. Now, Rabbi Vigdor Miller Zatzal said about this Gemara, he says, look how mighty the older generations, the earlier generations were. They sat and they watched and they saw everything that was going on, and they're looking for maybe a Navi will come and tell us what's going on. No Navi, no prophet. Maybe Rabbi Kiva will tell us. Rabbi Kiva didn't say. So what's going to be? What's happening over here? There's some strange disease. What did they do? They decided towards the end to be very introspective. And they came up with the conclusion that the reason that every single one of them is dying is because we must be at fault. It's our fault. It's not Hashem's fault. It's not Corona's fault. It's not some pandemic and epidemic going on that all yeshiva students are going to die, chas v'chalila. It's our fault. And they came to some conclusion at some point in this story, will take the blame. Said Rabbi Avig the Miller, whose yortzeit just was, he was niftar shortly right after Pesach. He said that that's the way of a Jew. The way of a Jew is that if something is going on like that, we turn to ourselves, reflect on ourselves, and we will take responsibility. I heard a Maisa with Rabbi Avigdor Miller that it was 1 year during Yom Kippur, and it came time for Mincha, and Rabbi Miller was not there. Now it's very unusual. Rabbi Miller was makpid, punctual, masudar. He was organized with everything. It's Yom Kippur Day, the day of tshuva, and Rabbi Miller was not there at Mincha. And everybody's they're waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. Finally, Rabbi Miller walks in. I believe, I'll have to double check the story, but he walked in either the end of Mincha, something like that. Nobody could believe it. Rabbi Miller, Rabbi Avigdor Miller, the man of Musar, the man of Yirah Shamayim, the man of Tshuva, the man who sets the example for all of Klal Yisrael of what it means to be a Yid. Mrs. Mincha, what's going on over here? Now somebody asked him, Rabbi, is everything okay? Is everything all right? He said, everything is fine. He said, years ago, we had a neighbor. And that neighbor we lived right next door to each other. And I felt at one time there was something that I did that was a slight to the kavod, to the honor of our neighbors. They moved from Flatbush to Canarsie. Anybody who knows the layout of Brooklyn area, it's approximately an hour walk from Flatbush to Canarsie. He said, I was thinking to myself on Yom Kippur, I'm afraid that I might have caused pain to that neighbor. They don't live next to me anymore. So I couldn't go next door and knock on the door and say, would you be meichel me? Couldn't do that. But it's Yom Kippur. It's the day of Slicha, Mechila, V'Kapar. But we know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu can forgive what we did between us and him. But what took place between me and my fellow Jew, Yom Kippur will not be a mechaper unless I go and I ask mechila from that person. I was afraid that I slighted these people. And so as soon as Musaf was over, he said, I walked all the way to Canarsie. I knocked on the door. I apologized to my neighbor if there's anything that I did when they lived next door to us that was a slight to their kavod. And now I walk back another hour to get here in time for the end of Yom Kippur. That is someone that understands that if all of Klal Yisrael is connected as one, and all of Klal Yisrael is supposed to be on board with each other, and if I'm not giving the proper cover, the proper honor one to the other, destruction for Klal Yisrael. Says the Gemara about the Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva. They were tzaddikim gemorim. They were tanoim in the days of the Gemara. They learned everything from Rabbi Akiva. As we're going to see, the Gemara tells us, after they all died, Rabbi Akiva went and he found 5 more Talmidim. And from those 5 Talmidim, he rebuilt all of the Torah. That means these 24,000 were supposed to be the next in the link in the chain of the progeny of Torah. They all died. They all died. Not 20%, not 40%, not 80%, not 99%, 100% died. because somehow on their level, in their way, the way that they were treating each other, this one was not right with this one, and this one with that one, and we're all connected. I wasn't right with the rest of Klal Yisrael because everything that I do makes an impact, negative or positive, on all of the Jewish people. During the days of Sfiras HaOmer, a person is given a task, and that task is that we have to rectify the hate of the Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva. We have to rectify the sins of those people, of what they did that brought about the mass destruction, the death of everybody. And we have to be able to give chiyus, we have to be able to give life to all of Klal Yisrael. And the way that we do that is by becoming sensitive and working on and understanding what it means to give kavod. Kavod doesn't mean just honor and respect. From a lashon of kaved, kaved is heavy. You have to see the chashivas, the weightiness, the worthiness of the person that's standing in front of you. Even if you don't agree, even if you disagree, even if they bother you, you have to look past all of that, and you have to see the worthiness of the essence of that person, and you then have to be able to treat them in the right way. The Orchos Tzadikim writes in the Shar HaNava, in the gate of a Nava of humility, there was once a chassid, a very pious individual, who was a big honor, a very humble person. And in all of his humility, he became like the leader of that town, of that generation. Everybody was machshav him, everybody looked up to him, everybody respected him. So somebody came to him once and said, "What's the shot? You're such a humble person, you're such a lowly person. How is it everybody admires you, everybody looks up to you, everybody wants to be your friend? How does that work?" And he said, "Because you should know, every person that I meet," he said, "I always think that person is so much better than me. If they know more Torah than me, so then they must be doing more mitzvahs. If they're older than me, that must mean that they have a longer life. That means they did more mitzvahs, they learned more Torah, they have more merits than me. If they're poorer than me, so then I assume that they did the best that they possibly could, and I should have done more. If they're richer than me, they give more tzedakah than me. If they're this, then that." Everything that another person is, I can always find the reason why they're greater than me and they're better than me. And as a result of that, I treat every single person with the utmost respect and honor and understanding that you could possibly have. And if there's anything, that's why everybody likes me. Says the Gemara, the Talmidim Rabbi Akiva, somehow in one area of their life, they were missing that. But in the eyes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu was so big, he said, "That's it. You can't be the ones that are going to continue the Torah to the next generation." Our mission during these days is to be able to learn how to accept the people in our lives that drive us crazy. Now, if you have a lot of people in your life that drive you crazy, don't drive yourself crazy the next 30 days. Just pick one. Just pick one person who you don't see eye to eye with. Personalities don't, click so well with. Your interests in life are really not so much on the same page. The things that you enjoy, they don't enjoy. The jokes that you like, they don't like, so on and so forth. Their hashkafas, their outlook on life, their political party and preference is not yours. You have to be nagu kavod zeh lezeh. We have to learn how to give respect one for the other. And when a person begins to do that, so then you engender peace and harmony and compassion and humility and chen. You find favor in the eyes of others, and people want to be around you and they enjoy being in your presence because people see that you are an accepting, understanding, embracing individual, not someone that is pushing the other people away. I want to leave on with a story that I know that I've told over the years, but it's such a powerful story, and it bespeaks this. There was a young boy, young. I mean, he was already in his high school years. His name was Baruch. And one day he wasn't feeling so well. And they went to the doctor, and the doctor didn't like what he saw, and they began running the exams and the tests. And lo and behold, Rahman Azan, this young teenage boy was diagnosed with a machla, with cancer. And he was immediately taken into the hospital, and the treatments began, but they caught it at already an advanced state. And with everything they did, and the surgeries and the chemo and everything, it just wasn't working, wasn't saving his life. And Baruch was ebbing, his life was ebbing away. He wasn't going to make it for such a long time. He was in the hospital, and his father was by his bedside saying Tehillim. And he turned to his father and he said, Abba, he said, I want to speak about my funeral. And the father said, oh, chas v'shalom, Baruch, don't talk like that. Come on, you're gonna get better. Said, Abba, I might be young, but I'm not stupid. I know what's going on. I know that I don't have much longer, and I know there's going to be a funeral. He said, I just would like to tell you how I want my funeral to run. He said, the only people that are allowed to speak at my funeral are you and my brothers, and only one Rebbe that I had. I don't want the Rosh Hashiva speaking. I don't want the Mashgiach to speak. I don't want my Rebbe to speak right now. Only one Rebbe can get up and speak. And that is Rabbi Rosenzweig. Swine. My third grade Rebbe. Your third grade Rebbe? You're 17 years old already. You're the star of the yeshiva. Your Rosh Hashiva only speaks the greatest praise of you. The Mashgiach thinks you're the next Baal Musar of the world with such perfect midas. You don't want them you want your third grade Rebbe to speak? He said, yes, only my third grade Rebbe. And the father looked at his son and says, can you tell me why? He said, sure. He said, Abba, can you bring me my wallet, please? So he brings him his wallet, and he begins digging through the wallet, and he pulls out a piece of paper. And he said, when I was in third grade, Abba, you remember how I was, don't you? I was a little bit of a social misfit. I didn't have so many friends. I didn't get along with everybody. My learning wasn't so good. I wasn't doing so well in school. Very, very hard year in my life. One day the Rebbe comes in and he says, Rabbi Sai, we're going to do an amazing, amazing project today. And he starts passing out a piece of paper to every single person. As a matter of fact, he said there were 20 kids in the class. He gave out 20 pieces of paper to every kid. And he said, Rabbi Sai, I want you to do the following. I want you to write on every paper that you have over here the name of one of the boys in the class. And I want you to write the biggest milas, the greatest attributes that that boy has that you know him for. Maybe he's funny, maybe he's smart, maybe he does things quickly, maybe he does chesed, whatever it is. I want you to write next to his name, I want you to write all the good things that you think about this boy. He said, Abba, when the Rebbe said this, I cannot tell you how nervous I was. I knew I'm a misfit. I knew that I don't have so many friends. What are the boys in my class going to say about me? He's a nerd? What are they going to say? He has no friends? He can't play basketball? What are they going to say about him? I had no idea. But I went through the names in the class. Yankel is kind, and Yossi is funny, and I did it all. And the Rebbe gathered all the papers and says, tomorrow I will give you the results. And the next day he calls every kid out one by one to show them the results of what everybody in the class thought about us. When he called me out, I was shaking. I was for sure they're going to have nothing. And he pulls out a piece of paper and he says, Baruch, take a look at this. Look at what the boys in the class think about you. Baruch is funny. He's a great friend. He's sincere. He's such a good davener. He tries so hard. He does chesed. He's good at this. And they wrote a whole long list. I was in shock. I couldn't believe it. And my Rebbe looked at me and he says, Baruch, you see what people think about you? This is who you really are. And he gave me the paper. He said, Abba, I want you to know something. That paper changed my life on the spot. I went from being a shy, self-conscious child in the class to suddenly I had confidence. I believed in myself because I said everybody else believed in me and said some nice things. I started learning. I started becoming friends with everybody. And that was the turning point in my life. But I took that paper and I folded it up and I put it in my wallet. And any time in my life since the third grade that I ever had a hard day, that things weren't going well, I would look at the paper and I would read all the beautiful accolades that the boys in my class and my Rebbe said about me. Then I would remember who I am and I'd be able to go on further and become accomplished and succeed. That Rebbe changed my life. He's the one that I want to speak at my Levaya. Father was crying. Boy was crying. And the father said, okay, I understand. A few days later, Baruch passed away. And at the Levaya, to the shock of everybody, his father spoke. His brother spoke. The Rosh Hashiva did not speak. The Mashkiach did not speak. His Rebbe of 11th and 12th grade did not speak. Suddenly they called upon Baruch's third grade Rebbe, Rabbi Rosenzweig, to get up and be maspid and give a eulogy. And nobody in the entire audience that day at the Levaya could understand, why is he speaking? During the Shiva, the house, of course, you can imagine, people were coming in and out all of the time, being Menachem Avot, giving their consolation. One day, many of Baruch's friends that he had grown up with came to pay a Shiva call. And at the same time that they were there, Rabbi Rosenzweig was there as well. And the boys were looking at Rabbi Rosenzweig, he was looking at them. And they turned to the father. Or they turned to Rabbi Rosenzweig and said, Rebbe, can we ask you a question? Baruch passed away. Anybody could have spoken about the Levaya. Why did he choose you instead of anybody else? So the rabbi looked at the father who was sitting Shiva. And the father looked at Rabbi Rosenzweig. And he said, okay, I'll tell them. And the father told over the following story, the last days in the hospital, Baruch's request, that paper that changed his life, how he clung on to that paper all of those years, stuffed in his wallet. Anytime they did a hard day, he would look at it to remind himself how chashiv he really was. And because of that, he asked the Rabbi Rosenweig, to speak. All of the boys in that room looked at the father. They looked at the Rebbe, and then they pulled out their own wallets. And they reached into their wallets, and each one pulled out a piece of paper. And they opened it up, and they said, Rebbe, we keep the same paper in our pockets, because that paper changed our lives. The goal of a Jew in this world is Nagu Kavod Zeh Lazeh, to give the proper respect one to the other. Embrace, see the good, think how great they are, see their kvedus, their weightiness, their heaviness, their chashivas, their importance. When you see that, then there's not a single Jew in Klal Yisrael that you won't treat in the proper way. And if we do that, we are masakin, we repair, and we correct the sin of the students of Rabbi Akiva that took away their lives. we will give ourselves and Klal Yisrael, that we're all connected to each other, give ourselves lives. And that'll be a great schus in the sphere of for us, a great schus for the soldiers fighting in Gaza and in Rafah, and a great schus for all of Klal Yisrael, whether they're aware of it or not, who we are all connected to in Klal and Prat, in the general and in the individual. We're all one neshama achas, one soul. We took it upon ourselves to watch out for one another. May in the schus of our efforts to give each other the proper respect, may that be something that finds tremendous favor in the eyes of Hashem. And just as the students missed that lesson, may we learn that lesson and that schus, build Torah, build Klal Yisrael, and build the pathways towards the coming of Mashiach. B'meira v'yameinu.